Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtuprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktiru Bhavati Naishtike. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, today we are starting new chapter, chapter 26, the Aila Gita, text number 1 onwards. Shri Bhagwan Uvacha Mallakshanam Imam Kayam Labdhva Madharma Asita Anandam Paramatmanam Atmastham Sampyatimam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, having achieved this human form of life, which affords one the opportunity to realize me, and being situated in my devotional service, one can achieve me in the reservoir of all pleasure, and the supreme soul of all existence, residing within the heart of every living entity. Because of bad association, even those who are spiritually liberated may fall down from self-realization. Within the material world, the association of women is especially dangerous, and therefore, in this chapter, the Aila Gita is spoken to prevent such a fall down. One can be saved from sex attraction by association with saintly persons who awaken one's real spiritual intelligence. Therefore, Lord Krishna will speak to Uddhav the amazing song of Pururava, also known as Aila Gita. So we studied, it was in 9th canto, the story of Pururava, who got enamored by Urvashi, the Apsara of Swargaloka. So I posted that story on our group. So Pururava got attracted to Urvashi. Urvashi was Apsara. And Pururava was a big king. And he was also son of Ila. So it comes in lunar dynasty. And that's why he was also known as Aila, because he was son of Ila. So that's why this chapter is called Aila Gita. So Pururava was so attracted to Urvashi that he wanted to have her at any cost. First Urvashi denied, but then she agreed. But she put 3 conditions. That she's an Apsara from heavenly planet. She said, when I come to earth to live with you, you'll only feed me ghee. I'll only eat ghee, nothing else. And because for her, according to heavenly standards, the earthly planet doesn't have any good food for them to eat. So she said, I'll only eat ghee. Apsara is eating ghee, and now we are saying, no, if you eat ghee, you'll become fat. And so stop eating ghee. Eat only refined, and then the refined created problem, and then this or that. Eat ghee. Apsaras want to eat ghee. Anyway. And then she said, I have 2 baby sheep. They are like maybe my babies. You should always protect them. And third, apart from our union, I don't want to see you naked. Okay. Pururava said, these are easy. No big deal. I can take care of all these conditions. So they were living happily together. But Indra was missing Urvashi. She was the most beautiful girl in the heaven. So she sent some Gandharvas to bring Urvashi back. So Gandharvas, what they did was, when Pururava and Urvashi, they were sleeping in the bedroom after having their union. Then the Gandharvas at night, they stole these 2 baby sheep. And then there was a big commotion outside, and Urvashi got up and, this is you sleeping here, and they're stealing my baby sheep, and you say, what kind of king you are? Go right now and bring my babies back. So Pururava got up he ran from the bed and he forgot he was naked. And when he ran, and Gandharvas, they stole the baby sheep, but then they made the whole atmosphere lit up brightly. And Urvashi saw Pururava naked, and she said, "This was a condition. I'm going back." So she went back, and she said, "You could not even protect the baby sheep." So she went back. Now Pururava was very, very upset. He was completely demoralized. Now what to do? Could not live without Urvashi, and in his crazy state of madness, he went to Kurukshetra. And somehow Urvashi was there with her friends to take bath. And she saw him and she saw his situation. She felt bad. She said, "Okay, I'll come back after a year just to be with you." So after a year, she came back, but then she gave him a baby boy. That she said, "This is your son." And like that, she came once every year, and then she always gave him a baby boy. But then the demigods, devatas, they saw so much of love between two and desperation to be with each other. They said, "Okay, you two can live together." But that's not what Bhagavatam wants to teach us. So now, so that story ended in 9th canto, but 11th canto is where the real thing comes out then. Gurnamaya jivyo anya vimukto jnana nishtaya guneshu maya matreshu drishya maneshu avastuta vartamano api na puman yujyate avastu birguna. A person fixed in transcendental knowledge, freed from conditioned life by giving up his false identification with the products of the material modes of nature. Seeing these products as simply illusion, he avoids entanglement with the modes of nature, although constantly among them. Because the modes of nature and their products are simply not real, he does not accept them. So this is about a person fixed in transcendental knowledge. He does not want anything to do with the products of material modes of nature. The three modes of nature become manifest as varieties of material bodies, places, families, countries, foods, sports, war, peace, and so forth. In other words, everything we see within the material world is constituted of the modes of nature. A liberated soul, although existing within the ocean of material energy, sees everything as the property of the Lord and is thus not entangled. So a liberated soul, although existing within the ocean of material energy, this is the ocean, but he sees everything as a property. So this is the mentality, this is a consciousness of a self-realized or a liberated soul. Although Maya tempts such a liberated soul to become a thief, to steal the property of the Lord for sense gratification, a Krishna conscious person does not bite the bait of Maya. Means he remains honest and pure in Krishna consciousness. It is difficult. It's not easy. Maya is going to try every way possible to test us. But this is the purity. In other words, he does not believe that anything within the universe can become his personal property for sense gratification, especially the illusory form of a woman. But the whole world is crazy about this attraction of opposite sex, and they're working so hard, so passionately about getting more and more sense gratification in that aspect. Sangam na yadasatam shishnodhar tripam pachit tasyanugas tamasyamdhe patati andhanugandavat. One should never associate with materialists, those dedicated to gratifying their genitals and bellies. By following them, one falls into the deepest pit of darkness, just like a blind man who follows another blind man. So deepest pit of darkness. Because then one can only think of women and some ways to make money and just go crazy about it. There is a portion of self-realization. And just one goes deep and deep and deep and deep into this thing. Ela samra dimam gatham agayat brirat shriva urvashir virhan moyan nirvinna shok samyam. The following song was sung by the famous emperor Pururava. When deprived of his wife Urvashi, he was at first bewildered, but by controlling his lamentation, he began to feel detached. So his name was Pururava also, and Ela or Pururava, same person. This story is also narrated in the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Ela or Pururava was a great king whose glories were vast. On being separated from Urvashi, he felt great bewilderment at first. But after meeting her briefly at Kurukshetra, he worshipped the demigod with the sacrificial fire given him by the Gandharvas and received the privilege of entering the planet where she resided. Tyaktvatmanam vrayantim tam nagna unmatta vandrita vilapannanva gajaye ghore tistheti viklavaha. When she was leaving him, even though he was naked, he ran after her just like a madman and called out in great distress, "Oh, my wife, oh terrible lady, please stop." As his beloved wife was leaving him, the shocked king was crying out, "My dear wife, please think for a moment. Just stop. You terrible lady, can't you stop? Why don't we speak together for a while? Why are you killing me?" Thus lamenting, he followed her. Kaman tripto anujushan shulkan varshayamini na vedayantir nayantir urvashya krishta chetanaha. Although for many years Pururava had enjoyed sex pleasure in the evening hours, still he was not satiated with such insignificant enjoyment. His mind was so attracted to Urvashi that he did not notice how the nights were coming and going. So this verse refers to Pururava's materialistic experience with Urvashi. Eluvacha aho me moha vistara kama kashmala chetasa devya grihita kanthasya nayu khanda ime smrita. King Aila said, "Alas, just see the extent of my delusion. This goddess was embracing me and held my neck in her grip. My heart was so polluted by lust that I had no idea how my life was passing. Naham veda bhe nirmukta suryo vabhi udito amuya mushito varshapu ganam batahani gatanyuta." That lady cheated me so much that I did not even see the rising or setting of the sun. Alas, for so many years I passed my days in vain. So I did not even see the rising or setting of the sun because he was just with her in the room all the time. Due to attachment to the goddess, King Pururava forgot his devotional service to the Supreme Lord and became more concerned with pleasing this beautiful young lady. Thus he later lamented, having wasted his valuable time. Those who are Krishna conscious utilize every moment in the Lord's loving service. Aho me atma sammoho yenatma yoshitam krita krida mrigash chakravarti naradeva shikhamani. Alas, although I am supposed to be mighty emperor, the crown jewel of all kings on this earth, just see how my bewilderment has rendered me a toy animal. Krida mrigash, in the hands of women. Since the king's body had become fully engaged in satisfying the superficial desires of women, his body was now like a toy animal in their hands. And this is true actually. Even big kings, they have lost everything in the hands of women. They just got so crazily attracted to women that they lost everything. Their strength, their kingdom, their opulence, everything. And their lives also. Saparichadam atmanam hitva trinamiveshwaram yantim striyam chanmagamam nagna unmatavadrudan. Although I was a powerful lord with great opulence, that woman gave me up as if I were no more than an insignificant blade of grass. And still naked and without shame, I followed her, crying out to her like a madman. Kutastasyanubhavasya tej ishatvam evava yuanvagacham striyam yantim karavat padaditaha. Where are my so-called great influence, power, and sovereignty? Just like an ass being kicked in the face by his she-ass, I ran after that woman who had already given me up. Amazing Bhagavatam is, and the examples it gives, just like an ass being kicked in the face by his she-ass. So when a donkey approaches a female donkey for union, he approaches her from behind, and she just kicks him in the face with her hind legs and kicks him hard, very, very hard. Just like a horse or a donkey, if you stand, it is said one should never stand towards the back of a horse or a donkey because they kick by their hind legs. And this donkey, he's so enamored by this idea of union with female donkey, he just takes this, oh, this is her invitation for the union. And then he tries again hard and she kicks him again, but then after a while she gives up and they have the union. But this is a kick of Maya. And we and as it is said, Pururava, King Pururava is saying, where are my so-called great influence, power, and sovereignty? And he's talking like this and still have the association of Urvashi. Kim vidyaya, kim tapsa, kim tyagena shrutena va, kim viviktena maunena, sribhiryasya manotritam. What's the use of a big education or the practice of austerities and renunciation? And what's the use of studying religious scriptures, of living in solitude and silence, if after all that one's mind is stolen by a woman? All of the above mentioned processes are useless if one's heart and mind are stolen by an insignificant woman. One who hankers after women's association certainly spoils his spiritual progress. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur states that if one worships the example of the liberated gopis of Vrindavan, who accepted Lord Krishna as a paramour, one can free one's mental activities from the contamination of lust. But this contamination or this idea, this enchantment is so great in the heart of every living entity. It's very difficult to give it up. Even great yogis, Vishwamitra Muni, Saubhari Rishi, we read about them. They just heard. I mean, Vishwamitra Muni, 60,000 years of tapasya, where he has heard the tinkling of ankle bells. And that was it. So this attraction is so great. It's so difficult to give it up. Of course, as Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, one who worships the example of the liberated gopis of Vrindavan. But the point being made is one should, on one's own, one should try very, very hard to engage in devotion service so the mind doesn't go after all these baser instincts. At the same time, one should pray. Pray to the Lord, pray to Radharani. Whenever any such thoughts come in the heart, pray to them. Please, please save me. Please help me. Pray to Prabhupada. Please help me. And at the same time, other devotees should help that person by giving right association and being compassionate about them. It's not easy. And this is, as it is said, this is the last snare of Maya. This is how Maya keeps us in control. Swarthasya kovidam dhingma murkham pandit maninam yoham ishvaratam prapya stribhir gokhar vajjita. To hell with me, I'm such a fool that I didn't even know what was good for me. Although I arrogantly thought I was highly intelligent. Although I achieved the exalted position of a lord, I allowed myself to be conquered by a woman as if I were a bullock or a jackass. All the fools of this world consider themselves very wise scholars, even though intoxicated by sense gratification and maddened by their lust for women's association. They become just like bullocks and jackasses. By the mercy of a saintly spiritual master, this lusty propensity can gradually be removed. Gradually be removed. It's not going to happen overnight. And one can understand the terrible, contemptible nature of material sense gratification. In this verse, King Pururava is coming to his senses in Krishna consciousness. Sevato varshapugan me urvashya dharasavam natripyati atmam kamo vanir ahutir hiryata. Even after I had served the so-called nectar of the lips of Urvashi for many years, my lusty desires kept rising again and again within my heart and were never satiated. Just like a fire that can never be extinguished by the oblations of ghee poured into its flame. So these lusty desires, there's so many desires, and more one enjoys or tries to enjoy, more the desires, they flame up. They can never be extinguished like that. Punshchalyapahritam chittam ko nvanyo mochitum prabhu atma rameshwaram rite bhagvantam adhokshajam. Who but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who lies beyond material perception and is the Lord of self-satisfied sages, can possibly save my consciousness, which has been stolen by a prostitute? Now he's calling her a prostitute. So, but one thing is, he understands only the Supreme Personality of Godhead can save, nobody else. Bodhitasyapi devyam me suktavakyena duramate manogato mahamoho napyati ajitatmana. Because I allowed my intelligence to become dull and because I failed to control my senses, the great confusion in my mind did not go away. Even though Urvashi herself gave me wise counsel with well-spoken words. So as described in the 9th canto of Bhagavatam, the goddess Urvashi plainly told Pururava that he should never trust women or believe their promises. Despite this frank advice, he became fully attached and thus suffered great mental anguish. Kimetyanopakritam rajjavava sarpachetasa drishtu swarupa vidusho yo aham yajitendriya. How can I blame her for my trouble when I myself am ignorant of my real spiritual nature? I did not control my senses, and so I'm like a person who mistakenly sees a harmless rope as a snake. When a person mistakes a rope for a snake, he becomes fearful and anxious. Such fear and anxiety are, of course, illusion, since a rope can never bite. Similarly, one who mistakenly thinks that the material, illusory energy of the Lord exists for his personal sense gratification will certainly bring down on his head an avalanche of material, illusory fear and anxiety. King Pururava frankly admits here that the young lady Urvashi is not to blame. After all, it was Pururava who mistakenly considered her to be an object of his personal enjoyment, and therefore he suffered the reaction by the laws of nature. Pururava himself was the offender for trying to exploit the external form of Urvashi. And this is basically this is a story of every living entity in the material world. Whether it's human beings or birds or animals, everybody is trying to enjoy the body of the opposite sex. And is in the end it's all frustration. Always it is ends in frustration, nothing else. But we don't learn our lesson. That's the only problem. Okay, so I guess we can stop here. See if anybody has any questions or comments.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisance. One thing which is very clear is that if after every test, after every detachment, we become more close to Krishna.
That's the whole idea.
तो in a way when we are going through the tough time, तो एक ये hope रहता है कि चलो इसके बाद शायद हम और भगवान के नजदीक आ जाएं, अगर हम consistent रहे तो.
वो होता ही है, but I mean sometimes we forget our lessons, so then Krishna has to give bigger lessons.
फिर से टेस्ट आएगा, हाँ actually. तो फिर से टेस्ट आएगा, क्योंकि जब तक दिमाग है प्रभु जी तब तक तो हम कभी खुद को भगवान मान लेंगे, कभी खुद को सब चीज का करने वाला मान लेंगे, कुछ अच्छा हुआ नहीं तो फिर से बार बार हमको अपना लेसन लेके राइट पाथ पे आना ही पड़ेगा.
Yep. So it's a journey of many lifetimes.
सही बात है,
not one lifetime journey. But it's a struggle, but it's a beautiful struggle. It's a sweet struggle.
कभी-कभी तो प्रभु जी it's like we don't know how we are behaving, कि हम पता नहीं वो शायद हम नहीं होते हैं, पर कभी-कभी हम इस तरह से रिएक्ट करते हैं चीजों को लेके. तो या it sometimes shows कि हमारे पास हमारा जो भी नेचर है या जो भी है, it is from past life also.
हाँ, वो तो है ही है. Those sanskaras are there, no? And the desires are there in our heart. They are really, really there. So, but all we have to do is learn, and not work on those material desires.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you very much for the class. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mata. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Okay, you all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.